Hello everyone. In this video I am going to walk you through another recently released feature of Langchain, which is parent document retriever, and using this feature we can get better response utilizing the longer context length than what we were doing till now, and still we will be sticking to the same tokens or the same model which you are using, but we may get the better response. And let's quickly have a look at few of the diagrams to understand this better. So this is what we are doing right now without this new feature. What we are doing is, let's say you have a document here named art1 and we chunked it into 4 different parts. Now the chunk size completely depends on you, whether you are taking chunk each chunk of 500,000 or even 2000. So whatever your chunk size is, you are just chunking the document and then we are generating the embedding with respect to each of these chunks. So now whenever user fires a query or asks a question, we used to generate the embedding, and then we will see, okay, it is falling in chunk 0 or chunk 2 or 01 or 02, then we will return these two particular chunks. So this approach works fine, but there are a lot many cases where this approach doesn't work very well. Let's take an example, like you have written an essay of world map. So the first chunk contains the information something like this: the world map contains these many countries, world map has these many oceans, continents and all those. But if you will go through the essay further, you will see that we are not using the word map every time. We are also using the pronouns like it contains these many oceans, it is, it, that. So these are the pronouns which can filter out that particular chunk. So although my information is available in chunk number 4, I'm still getting the response from this chunk 1 because there I'm using the word explicitly as a map. So how to get rid of this? So in order to resolve this problem, what we can do is, rather than picking this particular chunk, put we can pick the major portion of the original document, and that's what this new feature is all about. Let's have a look at this particular diagram. So we have this document art1, and now instead of creating the chunks directly from the document, what we are saying, first chunk the document itself. So now we are having the 4 chunk out of that parent document, and definitely this chunk size is much larger than what we are going to query. And out of those individual parent chunk or the intermediate chunks, then we are further doing creating the chunks. So that's why we have 8 different chunks. So initially we were having 4 chunks based on this, but now we have splitted those parent chunks into multiple chunks. So user will still be querying these chunks, but he will get the major portion of the document rather than just one chunk. And here is another diagram which can explain you what we are trying to achieve here. So you have the original documents, you will create the parent chunks, and out of those parent chunk we will be having multiple child chunks. So and for those respective child chunks we will be having an embedding. So those embedding will be passing, and here we will be using cosine, or you can use any other function of your choice for similarity match. And this portion or the right hand side of this cosine is still the same, wherein we are generating the embedding of the question, passing it to cosine, and then we are passing the response to the user. So this is what we are going to do, and let me quickly walk you through the code, and I will also explain you what response we are getting right now on and what response we will get after utilizing this new feature. So I have already set my OpenAI key, and then I'm importing these packages. So most of these are related to Langchain. You can see that this time we are getting a parent document retriever, which is a new one. And make sure that you are installing Langchain, OpenAI, Tick Token, as well as the Chroma DV if you want to run this code along with me. And then we are saying get the list of documents. So initially I am taking 2 different documents. One is Contoso handbook and another one is homelessness text, which also talks about the poverty. So these are the 2 different documents which I am taking as an input, and I'm passing them as a list over here. Let me run this and show you what these documents are. So you can see that this is the one which is related to, which is a handbook, and this one is another essay on homelessness which I have grabbed it from Wikipedia. So once this is done, we can go ahead and create the child splitter. So this is the first approach in which we are not using anything new related to that feature. We are just saying chunk my initial document into chunk of 500 each, and I'm not doing overlap, but definitely you are free to go ahead and do it if you are worrying about the information loss. So this is what we are doing, and it's the same thing which we have done in our previous videos also. I'm using Chroma for my in-memory database, and this is the store where I'm using in-memory store. And what this is going to do is it is going to store my parent document. So in our case we have two documents, so both these documents will be in placed in this store. And here we are creating the retriever. So in retriever you need to pass in three different things. One is your vector store, because it is going to hold our index and embeddings, and another one is the doc store, which is nothing but our original document. And then we have the child splitter, which is going to tell that okay, just create the chunk of 500. So this is what we are going to do. So basically we are just creating the retriever. Let me have a look what is happening over here. Okay, so I need to run this particular step. And okay, so now we are done with our retriever. Next thing is we need to add a document to our retriever. So this IDs is completely optional. If you want you can give, otherwise you can just pass a none over here, but I'm giving these two names so that I can identify which document it is. And these are the two documents which I have added, and you can see that in store now we are having two documents. Moving ahead with this one, now we are saying now perform the similarity search for this question. So what are the reasons behind poverty? And this I wanted based on the vector store Chroma which we have created above. Let's run it, and here we can print the document. So you can see that the resultant documents are 4. We got the 4 documents, or the matching document I would say, and this is the text of the 0th page or 0th document. Let's go ahead and have a look at what is the length of our first document. So here you can see the length of your first chunk or the first document is 459. Okay, because here we have created the chunk of 500, so definitely it should be around that, and here we are getting 459. Now next thing what we are going to do is we are going to use this retriever to get all the relevant documents. So for that we are saying get me all the relevant documents for this particular question. So here you can see that the length of the first document is 7147, because this query we are performing is on the entire set of documents, which is nothing but our doc store which we have created here. Okay, so that's the reason we are having 7147. Now if you will go ahead and at least retrieve the first document, you will see that this content is actually the one from our document. This is exactly the same text what we have in our document. So this is the main difference. So when you will do retriever, it will get you from entire all the documents, but when you are doing vector store, it will just pick the one which are matching. Now let's go ahead and call OpenAI with this particular contextual information. So if I will go ahead and run this query with OpenAI, you will see that this is the response you have received. So poverty is caused by a variety of factors, including lack of access to education, lack of access to adequate healthcare, lack of access to employment opportunities, lack of access to safe and affordable housing, and income inequality. So this is what it is giving me. Now let's try to use the new feature to execute the same flow, wherein we will be creating another layer in between of our embedding, in between the chunk and the parent document, which is nothing but another set of parents or the chunks. So now to do that new approach, what we are doing is first we are taking the parent document and we are saying okay, create intermediate chunks of 1000, and then the final chunk should be of 500, what we were doing. This is the same as what we were doing earlier. And if you will look, the only difference in this code is the first line we are adding over here, and then the next difference is in the retriever. So the way we are creating the retriever, we will be passing additional parameter here for the parent splitter. So let's run this one as well. Add the retriever, add the documents to the retriever. So here you can see that initially it was showing 4, but with this new approach now we have 16 documents, because now we have more chunks than what we were doing earlier. Okay, and let me run this particular question, which is same as like what we have, and this is exactly the same response that we have received earlier. Let me run this one, and here you can see that still the individual chunk size is 500, because we didn't change the chunk size for the final document. What we did is we just created another layer in between of the parent and the chunk to make our context better. And now if I will run this query, if I will run this, pass this to OpenAI, here you can see that for the same question we get the much better response. So instead of just where is that, instead of only this much text, now we are getting whole sum of information. And what we are saying here is poverty is caused by a variety of factors including lack of access to education, employment opportunities, healthcare, and resources such as food, housing, and transportation. Other causes of poverty can include environmental factors, discrimination, and political and economic instability. So you can see that this time we were able to cover more information, as well as the way sentence was framed was completely different. Here it is just talking about lack of access, lack of access, lack of this, but here now we have a better response with aggregate sentence formation. So this is the difference when you will create an intermediate parent chunk and when you are not creating the parent chunk. So you look at the scenario and try to figure it out how you can improve your response. So if your documents are too huge, then this is one of the suggestions to get the larger context within the same token limits. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and do let me know in comments if you have any questions about this. Thanks for watching.